Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. This week's top 10 list is a list of the top 10 small sized $10 bills. A lot of you probably aren't aware that there are that many, and there's actually a couple more. I can think of one or two right off the bat that I don't have yet, but I do have a top 10 list for you, so we are going to go through that right now. The top 10 small sized $10 notes. I guess I could say honorable mention would be the $10 bill in your pocket, so we'll get that out of the way first. I don't have to show you that one. You can look at it yourself. All right. Number 10. We're going to back it up a little bit and we're going to go with the $10 monochrome note. The monochrome series came out starting in 1996. I want to say just a short period from like 1996 to 2003 or something like that. Not a whole lot of these were out there, and we've gone to the colorful notes that we've got today. But the monochrome notes, very familiar looking, yet still only having the two colors like that. And having the oval. That's the other thing. When you're going through a lot of notes, if you don't pick up on the color right away, you're definitely going to notice the oval around the head, whereas the current notes just have the head. So that is number 10, the $10 monochrome note. Number 9. Well, before the monochrome note, we had the small head. Number 9 is a small head $10 note. This one happens to be from 1995, so it's not really that old. But these haven't really changed that much since, I want to say 1950. The 1950 series, I think, is when we got this particular size for a seal. But you guys are familiar with this $10 small head. Looking at the back, you can see it uses the same, it's the treasury that's there, same building, just a slightly different layout. I'm pretty fond of this. I like that. When you zoom in on the picture, you can see the old time cars and all the old people that are walking around over there. I shouldn't say all the old people. They were probably young at the time, but anyway, that is the small head $10 note, number 9 on the list. Number 8. Well, I mentioned going back to the 1950s, and that was pretty similar to that, but prior to that, the first edition note of this size, you can see here, series of 1928. This particular note, now the 1928 series, all of the notes right here, instead of using a letter for the Federal Reserve, they use the number. Now, they use the same number on the corners, and they do that to this day. But normally they'll have a letter here. This particular one was G. This letter would correspond with the same letter as the serial number. And of course, if you're curious, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. G is number 7. That's why you've got the 7s in there. So the 7th District, Chicago, G is the letter for that. Anyway, the only notes you're going to find that have that number there instead of the letter are from the 1928 series. So that is number 8 on my list. Number 7. They made notes other than Federal Reserve notes. This is a 1953 silver certificate. Now, in 53, they had the blue seal over here, and they used a gray numeral on this side. It has the same familiar back that you're going to find on the regular small size notes. This one here says partial teller stamp on face, and 25 over there. That's interesting. From Legacy. And if we look, let's see, yep, there's the partial teller stamp right there. It's interesting that they noted that. That's actually good that they noted that, just in case a person wasn't sure. So this is a 1953 $10 silver certificate. This one is number 7. 1098, number 7. Number 6, we're halfway through, and I pulled out a 1929 national banknote. This is called national currency, of course, and it's known as a national banknote because this was issued because the Chase National Bank of the city of New York put money on deposit. Their charter number is listed over here. So this note was actually backed by this particular national bank. National banks went through a process to get a charter number, then they could put money on deposit and have money issued with their bank on it like that. Looking at the back, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference just looking at the back from any other small head note, but still having the charter number there lets you know that this one is a national. Now, this is also one of the later nationals. This came out, actually was made, I want to say, sometime between 1933 and 1935, because this is known as a Type 2, because you've got the charter number here, here, and you also have it here and here. Only the Type 2s have the charter number there. The Type 1s just have the serial number that's more centered. So that one is number 6 on the list. Number 5. Very similar to the nationals. You can see they still call it national currency. This is a Federal Reserve banknote. Okay, not a Federal Reserve note, Federal Reserve banknote. What's meant by that is the Federal Reserve Bank individually backed this particular note. So this note, the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, was the one backing this note, whereas this note was backed by the National Bank of New York. So National Bank note, Federal Reserve Bank note. The Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago, or of San Francisco, was the one backing this one. And once again, looking at the back, same back. So if you were just going through notes this way, you'd never know the difference between all the different notes that they had. But when you check out this side, yeah, it's pretty obvious. So that one is number 5 on the list. Number 4. During World War II, they published what was known as emergency currency. Hawaii had notes that had the Hawaii overprint and a brown seal, and they also stamped Hawaii on the back of the note there. This was just in case Japan would have invaded Hawaii and confiscated all the money. That way Congress, with the swipe of a pen, can just say any note that's got a brown seal with Hawaii is no longer valid money. It's interesting, though, because they did the same thing in the other half of the world during the war, but this was a Federal Reserve note, and the other notes were silver certificates. So $10 Federal Reserve note from, this says, series of 1934A, World War II emergency currency. That one is number 4 on the list. Number 3. One of my favorites. This silver certificate is slightly different than the one that was up front. This particular one is a 1934. You can see right here, series of 1934. And the 34 is known for having that bright blue numeral. I'm a huge fan of this. If I get a silver certificate, this is the year that I want because I like that numeral. They did this on the 10, they did this on the 5. I believe there are ones that have the numeral on this side as well. Anyway, the 1934 $10 silver certificate, once again, the backs all are the same. No difference on the backs at all. But the difference here is not only the blue numeral, but the size of the seal, if I recall, too. Yeah, here's that other 10. Let me just pull that out real quick. And you can see how small that seal is compared to how big this seal is. And there's the blue versus the gray. So yeah, this is definitely my favorite of the 2 silver certificates. So that one is number 3 on the list. Number 2. No, it is not the same note. Yes, it does have the same blue overprint like that, but this one is the World War II emergency currency from North Africa. The North Africa note, you can tell it by the yellow seal that's there. They did a $1, a $5, and a $10 for North Africa. For Hawaii, they did 1, 5, 10, and 20. And as I said before, these notes here are silver certificates. They aren't Federal Reserve notes. The $10 silver certificate from North Africa, once again, from on the back of the note, it is the same as all the rest of them. That one is number 2 on the list. And finally, what is going to be number 1? I have my 1928 $10 gold certificate. $10 gold certificate, you can see here it definitely says gold certificate. They used a gold stamp. They used gold for the serial numbers. And but if you look at the back, it's the same as all the other notes. So even though all the fronts are different, all the backs are all the same on just about every one of these notes. The only time you have a difference is when you get to that monochrome. So that one is number 1, probably the more expensive one that you're going to find on here. Maybe some of the nationals can be a little tough to get, but yeah, this is probably the most desirable. All right, guys, if you learned anything new, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. I love reading all your comments. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll see you again next week.